The twin moons hung above the broken ridge as a cold wind swept across the valley where Lara struggled to breathe. Shadows shifted over the cracked terrain, and distant engines hummed across the horizon. She had dragged herself across the stony ground for hours after escaping the binding hall where she had refused the forced union demanded by her clan leaders. They had cast her out in anger and left her wounded near the border, with a land turned barren and harsh. Her people believed exile meant silence and disappearance, but Lyra refused to let her story end in despair. Her limbs trembled, and her vision blurred, yet her spirit would not bend. She pressed a hand against her side, where the impact from the fall earlier still throbbed. She looked toward the faint glow of the human outpost in the far distance and wished she had the strength to reach it. Stories of humans had always reached her home, yet she had never seen one. Her elders spoke of them as unpredictable beings who carried courage like a flame and compassion like a steady river. She wondered if those tales were true, as darkness began to press against her vision. She whispered a small plea to the cold wind, though she did not expect it to be heard. What she did not know was that the wind carried her voice farther than she imagined. On the other side of the ridge, a human patrol moved through the wasteland with steady steps. Their leader was a tall man named Orion, whose calm nature kept his team grounded. His armor carried marks from old missions, and his presence carried the quiet confidence of someone who had faced storms and walked out stronger. Humans on this frontier outpost dedicated their lives to maintaining peace among nearby settlements. They believed every life held meaning, and they would answer any call for help no matter how faint. Orion paused when he heard a subtle echo carried by the wind. It was not the cry of an animal or the rumble of shifting rocks. It was a voice, fragile yet determined. He lifted a hand and signaled his team to halt. He examined the ridge and listened again. The faint sound returned, and his instincts sharpened. He changed course and began to move ahead with quick but controlled steps. His team followed without question, for they trusted his judgment without hesitation. When Orion reached the crest, he saw a figure collapsed in the valley below. He approached with caution, but not fear. The moons illuminated the outline of a slender form, with iridescent markings along the arms and temples. Lyra's species often carried gentle patterns upon their skin that glowed softly in certain light. He recognized at once that she was injured. He knelt beside her and felt her breath falter as she tried to speak. She whispered that she had been cast out after resisting a forced union. Orion understood immediately that she needed safety before anything else. He lifted her with careful strength and held her close so she would not feel the cold wind anymore. Lyra sensed warmth spreading through her tired limbs and felt a strange calm settle into her chest. She looked at the human who carried her and wondered how someone from a distant world carried such quiet assurance. Orion spoke to her with a gentle tone and told her that she was safe now. She believed him without needing proof as her eyes slowly closed. The team hurried back to the outpost with steady formation. The human base stood like a beacon against the barren land, with warm lights and steady walls built to shelter all who needed refuge. Doctors guided Orion to the med bay, and he placed Lyra upon a bed designed to adapt to different species. Her breathing steadied once warm energy waves from the medical chamber surrounded her. Orion remained near the entrance, watching over her with patient intent. He wanted to understand what had happened and what dangers might follow her. His officers waited outside the room, ready to assist if needed. When Lyra woke hours later, she found him standing by her side. Her voice trembled as she told him more about her situation. Her clan leaders believed she dishonored tradition by refusing a forced bond with a powerful figure within their council. Her refusal was not a rebellion against culture, but a plea for freedom and choice. For this they cast her into the wilds, believing no one would find her. Orion listened without interruption. His belief was simple and direct. No one deserved exile for choosing their own path. He promised her protection. Lyra felt tears warm her eyes, but not from sadness. She had never been spoken to with such honesty. News of Lyra's presence spread across the outpost. Humans welcomed her and offered kindness in simple gestures, such as warm meals, gentle conversations, and reassurance. She felt her strength returning bit by bit. She walked outside in the courtyard where she watched humans train with precision and unity. Orion guided new recruits through exercises that combined strategy and balance. Lyra observed how he moved with purpose, yet never displayed aggression. His strength came from discipline rather than dominance. It fascinated her. She realized he led by example rather than fear. Humans followed him not because he demanded loyalty, but because he inspired it. She wondered how someone like him had appeared in her life at the moment she needed help the most. As days passed, she learned more about the outpost. Humans valued cooperation above all else. Their scientists worked to improve conditions for nearby regions. Their diplomats encouraged peaceful agreements between species. Their warriors only lifted their weapons when absolutely necessary. This balance impressed her deeply. Despite the peace within the outpost, a new challenge approached. Rumors reached Orion's command that Lyra's clan leaders planned a search across the region. They wanted to retrieve her not to welcome her back, but to silence the story of her refusal. Orion understood that returning her would place her in harm. Humans believed that every individual deserved the right to choose their future. He prepared defenses around the outpost and arranged a plan to negotiate if necessary. He also ensured Lyra remained calm and informed. Lyra felt fear return, but she also felt protected in a way she had never experienced before. She trusted Orion's guidance more than anything. When the clan's representatives arrived, they brought several armored riders who circled the outpost with stern expressions. Their leader demanded Lyra be surrendered immediately. Orion stood on the platform above the gates and addressed them with controlled calm. He explained that she was under human protection and would not be forced into any union. The riders objected and claimed tradition allowed them to decide the future of their members. Orion responded that freedom was stronger than any tradition that caused suffering. Lyra stood behind him, though her heart trembled. She watched Orion defend her with steady conviction. The clan leader grew frustrated and declared that humans had no right to interfere. Orion answered that humans intervened whenever someone cried for help. He stated that compassion crossed borders, and no one would take Lyra without her consent. Lyra stepped forward and declared that she chose her own path. She would not return. Her voice wavered, yet stood firm. Orion glanced at her with quiet pride. The clan riders realized they would not gain control through intimidation. They withdrew with threats that future dealings would not be peaceful. Orion signaled for the gates to close, and his team resumed their positions. Lyra exhaled slowly and felt relief wash through her. She realized in that moment that she had not only found refuge, but a future where she could build a life based on choice rather than pressure. She turned to Orion and thanked him with heartfelt sincerity. He simply nodded and told her that anyone in her place deserved the same protection. She saw the truth in his eyes and felt warmth rise in her chest. Weeks passed, and Lyra adapted to life among humans. She studied new skills and learned to work beside engineers who maintained the outpost shields. She found joy in contributing to the community that saved her. Her connection with Orion grew stronger, though neither of them rushed to define it. It was not built on urgency, but on respect, understanding, and shared moments. Sometimes they walked through the quiet halls during evening shifts, discussing plans for the future. Other times, they shared simple conversations under the twin moons. Lyra admired his dedication to his people and his unshakable belief in doing what was right. Orion admired her resilience and her gentle strength that had endured so much pressure. Their bond deepened with every passing day. One evening, a sudden quake rattled the outpost. A subterranean surge beneath the region caused ground fractures to spread across the valley. Sirens activated, and teams rushed to stabilize systems. A large crack formed near the western wall, where several workers had been stationed. Lyra ran to assist them despite Orion calling after her. She reached the wall and pulled equipment away from the collapsing edge. The ground beneath her shifted violently. She lost her footing and slid toward the drop. Orion sprinted across the courtyard with urgent speed. He reached her just as the edge gave way. His hand caught her wrist with firm strength. He pulled her toward him and lifted her into his arms once more. She clung to him as dust swirled around them. Her heart raced, yet she felt secure in his grasp. Orion carried her away from the breaking ground with steady steps. He set her down only when the danger had passed. She looked at him with gratitude and something deeper that words could not capture. He met her gaze with quiet understanding. After the quake, the outpost stabilized and repairs began. Life returned to its usual rhythm, though Lyra carried the memory of that moment close to her heart. She realized